On May 29, 1985, the giants of European football Liverpool and Juventus stood on the brink of history. The European Cup final was set to unfold in Brussels, Belgium. Liverpool, England's dominant force, was chasing a fifth European crown. Juventus, led by the legendary Michel Platini, dreamed of conquering the continent. Tens of thousands of fans flooded into the Heysel Stadium carrying flags, songs, and hope. It was meant to be a celebration of football greatness, a duel between two iconic clubs for European supremacy. But as the sun began to set over Brussels, a different kind of storm gathered. What should have been a night of triumph would instead become one of football's darkest and most haunting tragedies. What followed would scar the game forever. 39 people would lose their lives and over 600 more would be injured, all before a single ball had even been kicked. From the very beginning, UEFA's decision to host the final at Heysel was controversial, with so much global attention. Venues like Wembley, the Bernabeu, or Camp Nou could have easily hosted the match in safety and style. Instead, Heysel, an aging, crumbling relic of a bygone era, was chosen. Built in the 1930s, it was a stadium that no longer belonged to modern football. Its walls were cracked, its terraces unstable, and its safety systems severely outdated. As kickoff approached, tension rippled through the stands. The noise was deafening. The air was heavy with anticipation, but also with something far more dangerous. Unease. Rival fans had been placed perilously close to one another, separated only by a fragile wire fence, and as tempers flared between groups of Liverpool and Juventus supporters, what began as chants and insults soon escalated into violence. The most terrifying moments unfolded just an hour before kickoff. Objects and flares flew through the air. The thin line dividing the two fan sections crumbled, and when a group of Liverpool fans charged toward Juventus supporters, panic exploded through the terrace. Most fans had come simply to witness football history, not violence. But as hundreds of Juventus supporters fled in fear, the narrow, overcrowded terraces offered nowhere to go. The perimeter wall built to contain fans, not protect them, became a death trap. Under immense pressure from the panicking crowd, the wall gave way. Concrete shattered. People were crushed beneath the debris within moments. Celebration turned to chaos. Cheers that once echoed through Heysel were replaced by screams and cries for help. The scene was catastrophic. Fans trapped, suffocating, desperate to escape. The stadium, once filled with color and song, became a place of horror. From the opposite end, enraged Juventus fans, unaware of the full tragedy, stormed the pitch, hurling bottles and stones toward the Liverpool, and only the quick action of Belgian police prevented the chaos from spreading even further. And yet, in one of the most shocking decisions in football history, the match still went ahead. Officials feared that canceling it might trigger riots in the streets of Brussels. So with the dead and injured still lying in the stands, Liverpool and Juventus players took to the field, playing through tears, confusion, and disbelief. Juventus would win 1-0, but there was no celebration, no joy, only grief. That night, football lost its innocent sign. The aftermath, UEFA was quick to place the blame squarely on Liverpool's supporters. English football in the 1980s was plagued by hooliganism, a violent subculture that had become intertwined with the sport. High unemployment, political unrest, and deep social divides had fueled anger across Britain, and for many, football terraces became an outlet for that rage. Clubs like West Ham, Manchester United, and Chelsea had already gained notorious reputations for violent fan groups. European authorities saw English fans as the worst behaved on the continent, branding them with a cruel label. The English disease. Liverpool's reputation, however, had always been different. The club had represented pride, success, and dignity across Europe. For 20 years, they were English football's finest ambassadors. That's what made Heysel so devastating. Captain Phil Neal later recalled, "It felt like we'd let English football down for 2 decades. We'd been its finest representatives, and it ended in horror in the days following the disaster." UEFA official Gunter Schneider declared only the English fans are to blame. Of that, there is no doubt. The verdict was swift. All English clubs were banned indefinitely from European competitions. The punishment was collective and severe. Teams like Wimbledon, Oxford United, and Luton Town, who had never before qualified for Europe, lost their once-in-a-lifetime chance. The pride of English football vanished overnight, replaced by shame and intermediate coverage only deepened the wound. British newspapers painted Liverpool fans as murderers, animals, and killers, while the government led by Margaret Thatcher seized the opportunity to launch a crackdown on football hooliganism rather than confront the deeper social crises driving it. Yet the truth was far more complex. Yes, a group of Liverpool fans had sparked the deadly charge, but UEFA and Belgian authorities shared heavy responsibility. Heysel was not fit to host a European final. Its safety flaws were well known. Both Liverpool and Juventus had raised concerns weeks earlier, but UEFA ignored them. A later inspection by London Fire Brigade Deputy Chief Jerry Clarkson confirmed what many suspected: the stadium was dangerously unsafe. The walls were weak, the terraces unstable, and safety barriers installed incorrectly. Clarkson called the conditions beyond belief. Ticketing failures made matters worse. The neutral section intended to separate both sets of fans was flooded with Juventus supporters after black market sales went unchecked that left rival groups practically side by side, divided by only 8 police officers, and a makeshift fence. Overcrowding followed, and chaos was inevitable when the wall finally collapsed. 30-1 fans, mostly Italian, were crushed to death. 15 Liverpool supporters were later convicted of manslaughter. For years, both clubs lived in silence about Heysel. Juventus never celebrated their 1985 European title, and Liverpool, burdened by guilt, avoided public reflection. But tragedy would strike again just 4 years later, this time in Sheffield, England. In 1989, at the Hillsborough Stadium, 97 innocent Liverpool supporters were crushed to death due to catastrophic police mismanagement and poor stadium design. It was a heartbreaking echo of Heysel, proof that football had failed to learn its lessons. To disasters finally forced change. Stadiums across Europe were rebuilt standing